Hello and namaste. Welcome to our show COVID Corner. My name is Rosina Rai. Today I have invited a very special guest. His name is Pukar Saha. He is clinical psychologist. It is not enough to explain who is he, and I would love to welcome for the first our guest. Welcome to our show, and please brief about yourself more.
Thank you, Rosinazi. Thank you for inviting me in this show. And it's a great platform to just reach out to the people, as many as we can, to spread our awareness. I'm Pukar Saha. I'm a clinical psychologist. I work in Department of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry Unit, Kanti Children's Hospital. And also I do work at Metro Kathmandu Hospital.
Yeah, as I have said to you that, or I have invited you in our studio, is that to have more discussion about, precise discussion about mental health. Can you tell us very first, why should we discuss about mental health precisely in this COVID-19 pandemic, sir?
Thank you for this wonderful question. Let us just understand this phenomena as this is a moment of crisis. So whenever we have crisis as a human being, we have to invest a lot of psychological energy to just overcome it. When this happens, people suffer from a lot of emotional turmoil. So when this happens, now people, when they have a lot of emotional turmoil, they face a lot of challenges because there are a lot of uncertainty. And that brings the need of mental health, where people do not understand what is going on within themselves. At the same time, do not understand their own feelings, behavior, and what is going on within themselves. So that's very important that during the moment of crisis, that we make people aware that it's must need to talk about mental health.
Nowadays, this is widely discussed topic, and people have become wiser while taking these issues on platform. What the scenario depicts in Nepal, is it still a taboo topic? People try to hide, or they express with no hesitation, or second, third, what next person reacts on?
Now, this is the second most important topic, stigma. So whenever we talk about stigma, it's always associated with mental health. It's like two sides of a coin. When we talk about mental health, there is always stigma. Good thing is that if we see our history in our country, Nepal, it's been almost 80 years since psychology and psychiatry has been talked about. But sad part of the story is people come to the light of mental health only after the mental health.
Yes.
Mental health only when there was earthquake. So whenever there is a crisis, that's like a boon for a professional like mental health professional, where we get opportunity to actually talk and make people more clear about what is mental health and all these things. So when we see the first 80 years, there was nothing much, but now when we see there are a lot of changes in people's attitude,
Yes.
people has started talking about mental health, and they are aware. Even now we see in our OPD, even 9 months of children has been brought up by the parents to see whether their child is appropriate or not, whether they are catching up with their physical and mental development or not. That's a wonderful thing. So awareness has reached into that level. If we see in other practices, like if you talk about the adult group, they themselves come saying, oh, I am having a depression. So often we have to ask, do you know what that means? So often they say, I have anxiety. And they already know what is happening with them. And that's a good thing. So
Yes.
of course, stigma has decreased, but still there is huge chunk of people who is still going with this indigenous healing method. Still there is a taboo, people still who is prescribe a medication, or they know that they had certain diagnosis, they won't take medication from their own health post of village. They will travel next village so that they won't be identified, to remove that tagline. So they get freedom to express themselves and also to heal at the same time. But the thing is, what I would like to make a note is, mental health is just like a fever. So when you have fever, you have increased body temperature. So what we do is, you take rest, you take medication, you get recovered. Mental health is just like that. You have fever inside your brain, so you don't have any thermometer to check it out, whether your brain is having a mental health problem or not. But you can sense that as an individual or as a family member or as a community member. You can sense this people is not up to the mark, and we'll talk about that, how that phenomena occurs. But the important thing is here, there is treatment. So just like we have rest, we eat properly, we take care of ourselves, our hygiene, and medication and treatment, we get recovered within like a weeks in fever. But in mental health, it takes a bit longer time. Not that long term as people has the perception about, that we have to take medication for lifelong, this is untreatable, it's not like that. So we need to break that belief system through your portals or maybe through other methods as well.
Yes, I can see some changes, as you said, among the people, how they are perceiving this topic, mental health issues. Very first, I was asking to you that why should we discuss about this topic, especially in this pandemic? So I'm going to relate another question. COVID-19 obviously disturbing our mental health. So being involved in this sector for a long time, what future you see? Will number increase? Will majority of people suffer through this kind of mental issues, mental illness due to this pandemic?
Yeah, that's an interesting question again. Now, let's begin the first process here. So we all have been in a very crisis situation. We had 1 year of almost like lockdown. We all faced a lot of challenges. So as I mentioned in the very beginning, whenever there is crisis, there is an impact on our mental health. Now let us understand what is health first. Health means simply like if we are physically, emotionally, spiritually, you are doing sound without any merely absence of disease according to WHO's definition. Same thing if you see what is mental health, it's like you are more productive enough, you are taking your well-being, physically well-being, you are productive enough, you are doing something for your community, you are coping with your daily stressors, and then you are doing something for your community. That's a healthy definition. Now when there is crisis like this, now you have been isolated.
Yes.
Now you see from one as an individual, now you have been locked down, you don't know what's going to happen. So you have huge amount of stress. Now let me just make clear about this stress. A lot of people has miscommunication or misconception what stress is exactly.
Yes.
Everybody is talking about stress, but stress is something that is helpful. At the same time, it can impact your health when it goes above your capacity to deal with it. So that capacity depends on the individual again. So it's like some people see like they have witnessed an accident. Some people has really like they feel like, oh my God, what happened? Some people won't bother it. Some people will go rush and they'll try to help it. Like so, there comes the individual differences. So whenever there is a crisis situation, there is individual differences to see it. So when that happens, now they see it in this crisis moment, there is uncertainty. Most of us say, oh my God, what's going to happen next? That brings the stress level at its peak. Some people can absorb that pressure. Some people cannot. So when it goes above that line, now it gets to affect people's health. Now people worries a lot because they have lost their employment. They don't know what's going to happen when they're going to return on the job, what will happen to their family, and then comes the negative email, like negative news. There's everywhere, like people are dying, number are like increasing. So this thing brings anxiety and worries in people.
Definitely.
So again, that increases their anxiety level. That's again a mental health issue. And then within this like circle of like phenomena of worry and stress, there comes the disappointment. People get disappointed that there is nothing to live for. Like, what can I do for my family? I can't do anything. I am helpless. And that's where the depression starts. So whenever the crisis like this is there, mental health will definitely rise up. So if we see the papers, evidences wise, recently like USA and other countries have published their research that's saying that people who has recovered from COVID, sadly, every third person is having anxiety or depression. And that's quite alarming. Not only that, people also has risk of hemorrhages, strokes, like hypertension. So there are other physical diseases as well. So we have to really take a serious note of it. Moreover, if you see this mental health component will increase in country like us because we have like 40% of people are under poverty line. It's according to data of 2011. I may not be right on that. But you know, when there is lockdown now, what happens to the people? They're not going to job. We have most of the people who goes for the wages, daily wages. Now their
Yes.
employment is lost. Then what happens is now again, these 40% of people will again at risk of like having some kind of mental health. In our country, according to the reports like WHO's, there is Upadhyay Sir's research and others, we have 25% of mental health issues in our country. So which was quite higher before. So almost like every 50 people of Nepal were having problem. After this, it's gonna again rise up instead of going down.
Okay.
So we are in a verse where our generation can have difficulty. Why I say generations is because, see, there are a huge number of people who is suffering from COVID, and there are a huge number of people still have not been tested. And then there is again huge number of families who is staying inside lockdown. They are having a lot of difficulties, not only like socially or physically, but also like mentally. And they don't know what is going to happen, what is happening with them so often. People doesn't understand that. So the generation that we have right now, if you see the suffering numbers, it's basically that productive age of 18 to like 40. And if that population is at risk, if we follow the evidences, that means our whole generation is at risk of having mental health problem in days to come. So it's definitely going to rise up, but the good thing is that we have the potential to deal with it.
To identify as well as
Yes,
yeah,
of
what
course.
you are going through,
Of
what
course.
you're having inside.
Yeah, we can identify it, we can do the management, we don't need to go for hospital too at the very beginning. It's only like people has to take medication only when they have severity. So we have all these things. So good thing is that. And also the recovery rate of Nepal is quite good, death rate is low, but sadly there is. So if you see, there is high chance that people go through the grieving process because of the death. There is secondary trauma associated with it. There might be increase in sexual abuse, domestic violence. People will be hopeless, disappointed. Suicidality might go up. And even now, if last time if we see, there was quite a rise in suicidality. It was from 16 per day to almost 24 per day in last year. That was quite alarming.
Yeah, I read this somewhere.
Yeah.
There is a general understanding due to COVID-19 virus, this particular group is affected mostly, that particular group is affected mostly, you know, this kind of general assumption is there. So relating with this mental health issue, there is also a general understanding youth is mostly affected by this mental illness. So according to you, according to your understanding, which age group mostly affected by mental illness in this pandemic?
It's a difficult question to answer, but if I have to put my perspective, I'd go that every age group is equally vulnerable. Yes, the age group of like productive age group of adults like 18 to 40 is at higher risk because of their infection rate that we are having at present. But if we see cross-sectionally, everybody is at risk. I'll just give you one example. A family who is having like day-to-day life, and now because of pandemic, they all are inside and they're disturbed because of a lot of factors. Or let's say one of them are infected. One of them has to stay isolated. Now the child who is there of any age group, I'll start with the child, or let's say infant who is newly born. Now that child doesn't get the nurture or the emotional attachment from their parents, which is utmost need at the early phase of the right. So that person becomes at risk. If it's in the age group of 6 to 12, they don't understand what is going around them. Everybody is talking about something that's very scary. They may develop anxiety. I had this case where like 6 years of girl who was afraid every time and she would vomit whenever she'd get the first bite of her meal.
Okay.
And that was because the parents were so anxious that she was not allowed to go anywhere. She was told like, you go out there, you die. You go out there, you die. So the child was all constantly having this anxiety that's something wrong going to happen to my parents and herself. So you understand that age group is again vulnerable. Now the adolescents who is having a lot of emotional disturbances, they won't understand again because they're already having stress within themselves because of their physical changes, the challenges they have to meet with their like hormonal changes, the change in society. They understand, and the behavior from parents will be really strict during that phase. That again will bring a rebelliousness. So that again, and now the healthy age group where they're like adults, they have lost their employment, they are full of uncertainty. So these all age groups are equally vulnerable. And if you talk about geriatric population, they'll always worry about their next generation. What's going to happen to their son, their daughter, their grandchild. So you see, everybody is at risk. So if I have to answer this, I say it will be like 25, 25, 25, every age group. But there is a good hope that we can overcome it.
Okay, I want to put forward one question to you. Now, before that, so many people I had chat previously with them, the very close conversation kinda, and while they share their things, what I found is that, why I got to know is that they're even not being able to identify they're having mental illness, they are suffering through, they are not being able to identify that problem. So what do you want to say about that matter?
Now, it's a very, very touchy question. So here we all have to be very open about our actually what we feel and what we understand. There's nothing wrong on feeling upset, disappointed, aggressive. These are type of emotions finally. We are a human being full of emotions. So the first thing what we need to understand is when we are having these disturbances and how to identify it. That's a major thing. So identification part, what I would like to put a note on the floor is, so you just need to see yourself with the three basic things. If any individual who is having issues with our daily life hassles, you were working together, you were getting up regularly, you were doing all your works, but somehow you are feeling like restricted yourself not to get up from your bed. You don't find motivated to do any kind of work. And you feel like everything is pointless. That means there is a big question on yourself. That are you healthy enough mentally? So often like people talk about like, if you just understand what is happening with you, 90% of your problem is resolved. So for that, you need to just see your daily life one way. Next thing is to understand your appetite, whether you're eating more or eating less. Why is there sudden change in your appetite? The way you are having your food, now you don't have interest, or you're eating too much all the time, you're full with that. Or your sleep. Sleep is very good way to look out at.
Yes.
So if you have disturbance in sleep, like you are sleeping more or sleeping less again, but again, let you remind that it should be more than 3 times in a week, 2 to 3 times in a week. Then only it's like a problematic. So if you're not able to sleep, again, you'll feel irritated, your emotional component will be disturbed. You're not having your food properly, you'll feel weak, right? Your physical health will go down. And you're not understanding what is going inside you. That means you are like in the verge to just have one more panic button to press for yourself. So the first thing is we need to see these 3 things. And once you see these 3 things, then you have to ask a question simply, is it something that I'm going through? And that brings the next 3 part. The next 3 part is whether to check your emotionality. See the way you were before and now. Is there some change in your emotionality? Like, are you being more irritated? Are you being more aggressive? You were cheerful before, but now you're not interested. You're feeling very low. Or just see your behavior. You're very active, you used to do everything, but suddenly you don't find interest, you don't want to interact, right? You don't want to talk, you don't want to do anything. Like your house is at mess, you were very tidy before, but now it doesn't bother. You have piles of clothes to be washed out, or maybe in your kitchen is at mess, or maybe you're having a lot of negative thoughts. Too much to handle. So if you see again the deeper inside, if these things are present, the 6th thing, so that means you have to ask a question to yourself.
Okay, these are the criteria, or
Yeah.
yeah, these are the points which
Yeah.
let you know
Yeah.
actually you are going through this kind of phases or not.
Yes.
So what I said before is that I had personal close conversation with my close one. Um, at the time, I just could do is that I just listen them very peacefully, but um, I could not do, like, I could not give, you know, that important significant suggestion to them. So one of close one, be it my friend, be it my family member, if they are struggling through this phase, what personally can I role play?
That's good that you just listen. That's the best thing that you can do.
Okay.
Okay. The first thing that you do is you listen to your people around you. Just be there. Okay. That's a wonderful thing that a person can do for the next person. Be there, talk to them, and it's not always about like giving suggestions at the same time. You already are helping by just listening to them. Because people at this moment have been living in such a rush that they don't have a good bond these days.
Mm-hmm.
They're in like professional crisis, you know, everybody is working like 12 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, leaving their families behind, and they suddenly find this drainage of energy, like out of gas thing. So the thing is, if there is some people around them to talk to about how they feel, if somebody is there to understand, then they can open up. And as an individual, it's our responsibility for all our citizens to actually look for each other. What is happening around? And you're not, see, and then also remind that you're not a professional at the same time. You already are helping by just listening to them. Okay, this is the problem. Okay, you know, there are a lot of toll-free numbers, even at this moment of crisis. There are a lot of online platforms. There are a lot of hospitals and facilities which is there for all the people. We just need to make them connect. So what we need to do is, who is like a very like a good state of their mind, has to just listen to them. Once they listen, they know, okay, this is something that we really need to address. Just like remind them, because they are going already so many things. And that point, just provide the numbers for now at this point of like crisis, because it's really risky to visit hospitals. But at least we have numbers. We have toll-free numbers which you can easily get available from all online platforms. Even our hospital and department has started it. We reached to almost like 40,000 people last year, and we are planning the same thing. We are also open.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our toll-free number, which I will share at the end of this program.
That's
Right?
great.
So there are like a teaching hospital is there who is running like a toll-free number. These are toll-free again, so it doesn't cost you. So like in this crisis moment, you know, there will be question economically. We talked about poverty in our country.
Yes.
People has this issue like how much can I afford or not. These services are free. And there are like other NGOs and other organizations which is providing the same. So, you know, we just need to help them to connect with these people, with the professional, and also this, like, praise yourself that you did a great work rather than giving suggestions, because you never know what can click to that person or not. But good thing is that you ask a question, what can I do?
Mm-hmm.
And then your role is to connect it. If you know something that if it works for that person, it's fair enough to share. But again, respect the individuality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's the best thing.
Mm-hmm. You know, while listening to you, suddenly one question came into my mind, that is, nowadays in this pandemic, obviously remote learning is going on, online education is going on, there is no any option. So what is the psychological state going through that school children nowadays?
Yeah, it's again a challenging. At the same time, we need to engage our children, which is good thing. But the duration is quite high. So if I have to say that online classes is really good for our children to engage. But again, the duration, it should not be like the normal classes, you know, like sitting in the class and then having 8 hours, like 6 hours long schooling classes. Nowadays, there are a lot of children who is complaining of headache, anger issues, vomiting, because they are staying too long in front of like a phone or like classes, and they're not able to concentrate. And even the people like who are adult, they have been indulged in a lot of like your internet addictions. They're like having gaming disorders, and they don't sleep. They just play on and on because that's what they have learned. And suddenly, after a couple of days, they find it like they cannot sleep. They were having more mood issues. They're more aggressive. They can't concentrate. So there are a lot of complaints again. But the good part is that we need to have that for engagement for our children so that they can learn. But it has to be more in a fun way rather than being a compulsion to just attain that class. It should not be the old method. But there are a lot of educational institutions who has done homework on that. They have certain that periods. They're providing breaks, which is good. So if there is like frequent breaks for the student, that's good. They can really get up and be more interactive through online, like giving some small task, which they do. That's good. But we have to make sure that it doesn't go for the longer further of time. And at the same time, I would like to request the parents to actually understand that giving electronic gadgets is not a solution. It's actually the problem. So many parents, they just give the electronic gadgets so that this child will be quiet and they can do their work. But in that verse of doing that, they're not handling just the electronic gadgets, but they're giving like some kind of notorious thing. It's like giving beer to them.
But due to this online education, remote learning, parents, I think they don't have any option giving laptop, providing phones, this and that is, I think, last option they do have. So how can they manage?
No, that's interesting. Here, I'm not saying that they're completely avoided not to use it. But there has to be monitoring them, what actually my child is doing. And what is the limit setting? These two things is very important.
So we normally, we hear, or I personally do hear this statement, there is sarcasm. What people say is that, especially age of my mother, my father, what they say is that there's no such, this kind of issues, mental illness and this and that. But nowadays, modern people who have access of every privileges, they're the one going through this kind of mental illness. They they left question mark over there. Why? So what do you say in this?
The first thing is about if we see our history. Like Nepal is the second highest in consumption of tobacco in female. Did you know that? No, right?
No.
Why? Now see, females are the one who is having higher consumption in Nepal than the males, tobacco consumption. How do we know that? It's through my education and knowledge. People who are from say next generations, we had less amount of education. I still told you that our illiteracy percentage is quite higher. So people didn't have education, and mental health was something that was tabooed from ancient time, and it was not something that was talked about. That's why in the very beginning I've mentioned that after the earthquake, people started realizing that it's something that we have to talk. If you're dying from inside, so it's better that you talk. And at the same time, there was a lot of awareness campaign. And still it's going on. Even our Prime Minister has addressed this in the cabinet and in the live program that the second thing after the COVID infection is mental health. So people are now actually taking concern. They are showing their concern.
Yes.
But people were not aware before that it's that important.
Before earthquake?
Before earthquake and before ancient time, the people who is coming from next generation are commenting on that. And just see, very good example is now let's talk about women equality. So since when we started talking about it? And since when people of current generation and before generation knew that there should be equality? If you see now, I see it through the rebelliousness. It's just a revolution. Women at present are just doing revolution. It's not equality, It's just a revolution because they think that this is something not right. But it's the same people who were following from ancient period of time for no reason. Let's talk about menstruation. How much it's impacted on the psychology of a child? Has any of the child who goes through the menstruation, which is natural process, is been aware what is happening with them? Are they concerned how much anxiety and fear that they have to go through when they're bleeding from their own body? Are they talking about it, or they're putting the taboos that you cannot do this, do's and don't all the time? What are we putting in their head? Jhopadi pratha, which is still prevalent in our country despite
Yes.
government has said like
Is it?
legally it's against, people are still following it. So this is because of this lack of education, knowledge, awareness about the people that they make these small remarks, and they blame this generation for that. But actually it's just about that education and awareness has been recently established about mental health. People are slowly recognizing what they need and what they don't need. So there is a lot of taboos and a stigma yet to be broken.
Normally, people perceive this mental illness as there is no cure. Can you make this clear to us? Is there any specific cure, treatment? And can they come back to their normal life, normal living again?
Absolutely yes. There is no second doubt or second thought on saying that. Absolutely yes. First of all, we need to understand there is difference between healthy person, impairment, and disability. If something is not treated, then it goes into impairment, then goes into disability. So this is very important that we understand what is healthy, what is impairment, and what is disability. So when we talk in mental health, what happens is when you're mentally challenged, you cannot do the certain functions the way you were able to do. There is impairment in certain domain. If it persists for longer version of time, then you have disability. Okay, but there is steps for going there. If you seek treatment at the right time, you don't even need to take medications. We generally go with the severity of any illness, whether we talk about anxiety, whether we talk about depression, whether you talk about stress, or any severe form of mental health. There are causes for it which we have to understand. But as I said earlier, there is treatment. If it's just mild to moderate, only through the psychotherapy technique, counseling technique can help you to get over it. You don't need to even take medication for it. But if it's in severe level and people are still having difficulty to manage their day-to-day life, we have medications which is prescribed by psychiatrist. There is very good amount of psychologists, psychiatrists in our country at the moment. We have that support. So it's not like previous ways where people used to think like you have to take medication for lifelong. It's not like that. Let me just be very clear on that there is medication. It will take a bit longer than general, but there is treatment for every kind or every form of diseases that is related with mental health. So that's absolutely crystal clear, yes. But we just need to help them to connect with the right person. Sometimes people may not get connection or they may not know where to go. Then it goes into direct disability, which we don't want. And if we see the research at the current situation, world is having crisis of mental health burden. So there is disability burden because of mental health issues, entire world. By 2030, world is going to face challenges only because of mental health. The death rate is higher. Even in our country, the productive age of female of 18 to 50, the second highest death reason is not physical health. It's a suicide. It's that high in our country. So we need to take a step. We can save life. We can change life. We can make a better life. They can lead normal, healthy life. It's just like once you have fever, I gave this example of fever, you cannot do anything. Of course you can't. You need to rest at that point of time. If you try to work during your fever, you will be more deteriorated. You can damage the internal organs, which may lead to your disability. You don't want to do that. Just like that, when you have mental health, take rest, take medication. Once you're over, you can do everything. There is nothing wrong. In any field, you can bloom at anything, and it will provide you more stronger. You'll be more stronger. Your self-esteem will be good. That's what people need.
Thank you so much. There are so many people watching us. I really do hope that they are at least getting some hope. Yes, I can come back to my normal life. And thank you so much once again for this, very positive message to the people. Now I want to relate myself. Definitely last year, and it's still ongoing, that COVID-19 pandemic. Last year was not easy for every people around the world. I personally also went through a lot mental instability, I have to say, and I could not share it to my family because they don't understand. And I personally identified the solution. What else can I do and make myself very normal or mentally very much, like healthy? So I did so many things: reading books, meditation, going for hiking, morning walk, every possible thing I did. So I personally realized that, oh, these are the things can really change your mental instability. So again, being in this sector professional, what positive affirmation or basic psychological skill while facing this uncertainty to maintain good mental health and well-being during this COVID-19 pandemic? What do you suggest? What do you want to say to the people?
Yeah, thank you for that question again. It's really important that we just talk about mental health issue and not talk about the management. So the thing is, my request would be, first of all, we have understood the phenomena, how it occurs. Now, just to reverse it, it's a simple way. They're very simple way. Your body need 8 hours sleep, 8 hour entertainment, and 8 hour of like work. It's like that. So we all work 8 hours, we sleep 8 hours, and we have entertainment. So just manage this part. We got to understand this part. So for that, if you just have a schedule where you give information to your brain that these are the things that you are going to do today and tomorrow. And this pandemic, we should not see only through this mere like loophole of crisis, but also the opportunity. This is time to opportunity. Why I say it's an opportunity is, say, we were long like working every day. We didn't have time to think back, sit down and think back. Oh, these are the things that is really matters to me. It's just not about work or daily hassles. There are a lot of things that we can do. So first of all, let's have a schedule and explore our inner hobbies, what we were good at. Like again, there might be individual differences. So when you're having a schedule, your brain knows what to do. Just include the physical exercise for 30 to 45 minutes every day. That helps to make your mind and body much stronger. Any form of exercise, whether you do it yoga, meditation, physical exercise, walk, skipping, but just move your body. It can be just dancing. Dancing is a very good form of exercise again.
Yes.
And some of them have these hobbies too, just to dance. That will actually free yourself. Moreover, there are a lot of like other activities that you can plan, like maybe reading books, as you mentioned, right? Some of the people really likes reading books, or some of them maybe even going with the drawing.
Yes.
Some of them like cooking. It's about making yourself busy. So the more busy you will be, the much better will be for your mental health. So you don't get like these negative thoughts. You won't have this thinking about uncertainty. Moreover, what we can do is about like having this repairment of family bond. So often, like as you mentioned in your like individual experience, that you think like your parents won't understand you.
Definitely.
However, that's the closest person you have on the planet. And how fast we are jumping to this conclusion that they will not understand me, right? So what makes us think in that way? It's not only us. There are a lot of people who are thinking that these people are not only like they won't understand me. What if they judge me?
Yes, that's the
Right?
big question.
Yeah, what if they judge me? What if they don't understand me? So my request is just listen. Again, the statement that I used before, and repair your bonds. You can talk to them. You can just tell them anything. Where would you go if you have trouble? It's your parents, right? So why don't you just talk openly to your parents? Okay, this is the thing I'm having. Can you do something about it? Right? Or you can simply make your like quality family time where you'll feel more happiness, enjoyment. You talk about some stuff, some funny stuff, and you have communication around. It's the like you have heaven on the earth.
Yes.
And you don't need to look outside for it. It's within your room. It doesn't have to be like a lavish bungalow or something to find happiness. Every people can have their happiness through the small thing that counts for them. Just find out. whether it's like cooking together, eating together, playing some sports like maybe indoors, have some sports like maybe carom board, chess, or ludo, you play with your sibling with whom you might not have chatted. And the good thing is we have now internet as a boon. So where you can get connected to your family members, doesn't matter in which corner they are. We can call, right? We can talk, we can video call, we can see each other. Now that gives you a sense of relief that your family members are in good place rather than just having a stress, what is happening with my family. There are a lot of people who is abroad.
Yes.
Right? Again, if you don't talk, how do you know that your keen ones and loved ones are at good place? Just approach them. So overall, to just sum up, basic things. Let's stay with a very basic thing. Have a routine, sleep on time, eat properly, healthy foods, whatever you want to eat. Again, it's on the individuality references. There's no like limitation, you should eat this or not or that or not. Whatever you find healthy, just eat healthy. Right? Just include that balanced diet that we all have studied since our childhood, and everybody is talking now about the diet and all. So just eat healthy. Have a schedule, do the regular exercises here and there, have some quality time with your family member, speak to the people with whom you are loved, just get connected. Okay?
So in this point, can I say we nowadays being less physical, locked inside our home and restricted our movement, which is major cycle cause of provoking a mental health issue in this pandemic?
Yes, it's a vice versa thing. Of course. The more will we
I think
isolate
it's
it.
more provoking.
Yeah, we can put it in that way. But if you see now, why I will justify this statement is, after 40 years of age, 80% of Nepalese are suffering from diabetes. Okay. When there is a diabetes, there is always stress, psychological component. People doesn't understand the lifestyle change that they need. And if you see any of the professional lectures or awareness campaign, they say that laziness is the first cause of diabetes. And now when you have entire time to do something, you're just isolated.
Yes.
And when you're isolated, there will be question on your mental health. So what is this two phenomena that stops you not to be active enough? We are just looking at diabetes or other like hypertension or other lungs infection. But what if people is not really motivated? They find it like really low in themselves. That's where the psychological component comes. So there is a now need of this lifestyle change. It's not about changing behavior or changing their mindset or something. It's about changing their lifestyle. And it can be done through you just get connected for psychological help, psychiatric help. And then you can get all the happiness in your life. So who is stopping you to get all this happiness is just you.
Yes, it's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you. These days, definitely, again, I want to be very, very relevant to our topic, pandemic. These days, people are going through a lot negative emotions. When you have this leisure long time, definitely you go through this kind of emotions and producing more negative energy, right? I think each individuals, they are experiencing this kind of thing or phases. Other part, what do you say?
Now, what I want to say here is, first of all, it's all right to feel this way at this moment. There's nothing wrong.
Can they take this time as an opportunity for self-reflection?
Of course, I told this as many times as possible in our talk. It's just not about like taking as a negativity, like, going into that negative verse, but we can see the opportunities. We can do a lot, which we have already talked about: family time, quality time, reflection on ourselves. What can we do better? You can plan for like your career. You can look after your education. You can have online platforms which is there to provide you education or degrees. So it's about utilizing your time. Time waits for none, right? And it will flow like a river, right? It's in our like way. I would like to give this example of water. It's been talked by Bruce Lee as well. You be like a water and shape of water. I'll just give a different modality, like, wherever the water goes, it nourishes life. So the thing is, what we need to do is we need to nourish ourselves.
Yes.
Where is my growth? What can I do so that I can feel better and grow more?
This time can be.
Yeah, and this is a wonderful time that you can have. People expense like hell to just get the time, entertainment, and stay together. Now the nature has provided you this wonderful opportunity that you are bind together with your family member. You can spend a lot of time and still you are having a question. You see, it's only about the perspective, how you look at it. And people has choices, People always make choices. I'll just give you this simple example. I have choice whether to come for this interview or not, and I can think all the negativity. Oh, I'll have corona, I'll go through this, that, who is going to take care? And then there's a next part. Okay, you got to go as a professional, that's a duty. You got to tell the people, inform them what they can do. Now it's my choice, what can I do? So there's always these two verses, whether you want to go with the negativity or the positivity. So you're just one step back to decide where you want to go. You can take a step forward for the positivity that will bring growth, prosperity, right? You can sit back and think all the day around for all this emotion and bring the mental health issues. And not only mental health issues, but there are a lot of physical associated with it. So choice is on your hand. Whether you want to get up and walk towards positivity, or you sit down and take a path of spiritual path of having this negativity. It's on your hand.
Very last question. I have asked so many questions and it's really pleasing to hear you. A very last question I want to put forward is that what role a family, society and government itself should they have done or should be done or they should bear? What kind of?
Thank you for allowing my opinion to put in that. Now first thing is just be there for your loved ones, keen ones. Just try to be open to them. No matter what is there, you can always come to me. As a family members, you can do the best thing. Whether it's a child, child won't complain you saying that they have mental health issues. They'll come and they'll say that I'm having problem in my stomach or chest. So you got to listen rather than just discounting, it's all right, it happens kind of thing. Just listen what are they trying to communicate.
We present ourselves as a ignorant person in this part a lot, I think, in my opinion. I'll
give you one best example for this. A 14 years old girl or a male, girl or boy, gets touched inappropriately one of by family member or by neighbor or somebody else. They come and report to the parent saying that this person has touched me here, and then parent simply just discounts, why are you talking useless? Just imagine what will happen to that child who is coming to you with a complaint that they have been touched inappropriately. You're not even listening there. You're not trying to even understand to them. And that's how negativity spreads. It's just not about this abuse thing. So we got to get the time out to understand what are these people trying to tell in any age group. Whether you're a friend, you're a husband, you're a wife, you're a daughter, you're a son, whether you're a colleague working at office or you're any other role, just try to understand these people, what they're trying to communicate to you. That's the first responsibility I would like to say as a family member. You see any change in your son, daughter, friend, brother, sister, in-laws, have a question mark. There is something wrong with this person. This was not like that, right? As a community, let's please avoid this discrimination and stigma about COVID pandemic that, we should not talk to the people, we should not visit to the people. It's not about it's a social isolation, not like communication. You're not like a only person on the earth to survive. Please get connected in some way, maybe through internet, maybe
some sympathy.
Yes, of course. And also to pierce the discrimination. You should take care of your community or neighbors. If they're having some kind of food issues, why don't we help them? If they are having some challenging time, just support them, right? Talk to them what they need. So just to be there, sensation. As a community, you have to spread awareness campaigns. And for government, I am in a very difficult position right now to comment anything on the government. They are trying to do a lot of things, but it's like they're tangled, right? We need like medication, we need oxygen, we need a lot of stuff. And I don't know where the government were doing at that point of time when we need it most. So my request is to please unite. Please address the needs. We are very less population. 3 crore and just 20 lakhs population is not a huge number. We can do a lot. If we need, like, we can always support like government if they're really concerned about the mental health. We can establish a psychological help desk along with the COVID test. So where people can come, get tested their stress, anxiety, depression, and they can get certain prescriptions. If they need medication, they'll get medication. If they need some counseling session, we can provide that. So I would like to request government to please provide a platform. And there are a lot of youth and youngsters, psychologists, psychiatrists, who is doing a lot. Just combine in an umbrella and let's work for our country for betterment.
Thank you so much for watching us. In next episode, we will definitely be joining back with another very special guest. We really do hope that this episode actually is very informative to your many queries regarding mental illness, mental health. Saying this, till then, use this time as an opportunity for the self-reflection. Take care.